Munawar S. Mirza, ex-Vice Chancellor, University of Education. Dr. Mirza has tremendous contribution in the field of education. She has introduced many educational programs and reformed the structure of existing programs. She is the recipient of many awards such as Sadia Dedication Award of Academic Distinction for Quality Research in Social Sciences, Best University Teacher, Leading Lifetime Achievement Award. Dr. Mirza is the Emeritus Professor at Institute of Education and Research, University of the Punjab. Let's begin the session. Over to you, Dr. Mirza. Thank you. Madam, your mic is mute now. You can unmute and then you can talk.
Yes, yes. What I'm saying, thank you very much, Dr. Sadia, for organizing the webinar on an important upcoming issue. I'm trying to enlarge it. Okay. Okay. Um, and this issue has been in air for the last 6-7 years, or rather more. I think it started somewhere in 2013 or so. Anyhow, you have asked me to present on licensing, and I have added another word to it, that is certification. So it is licensing and certification of teachers in Pakistan. What type of things I would like to discuss in this session? Very basic thing is, teaching has been there. I just cut the word profession. Well, teaching has been there since long, and not since long, but from the day human being was created. So teaching learning process has been from that time onwards. And with the development, then other comparatively formal structures of teaching emerged. So why are we talking now about licensing? Is it really needed or not? The second thing we will discuss is what the world is doing. Are we new in this field, or world is doing something already? If the world is doing something, then what are the requirements for licensing and certification? The next aspect will be what is happening to quality assurance, because licensing is a part of quality assurance of teaching. What has been going on in the last few years? What is the concept here? Then, while this concept was going on, another very important thing has happened, and that is that teacher education, teacher training is going through a change. By the people sitting outside formal teacher education institutions, rather I would say pre-service teacher education institution. So something different has started going on. If that has started happening, then I think the teacher education institutions also need to think about what is happening. Dr. Sadia, I am facing a problem that the slide I see, but I do not see the whole. I do not see the participants or anything.
This is the limitation of the sharing the slides from the guest.
This is not generally. It is not generally. Both the views are available. So if it is at your end, fine, no problem. We'll do with that. So because without knowing any of the audience, it is slightly different to talk. When you see at least one or two, then your way of talking differs. Anyhow, if it is from your side, I can't do anything. The very first thing is what is a profession? Okay, Sadia, if you move it, then will the audience be visible? If you run this
I
slide.
don't think so. It will remain the same. And I think,
Oh,
yeah, it's
okay.
going very well. So you can just keep it continue.
Okay, I can do that, but I think
We can
this is
see
unique.
we can see
The
audience and
university
madam.
simultaneous, and I think the university should look into it for future. Anyhow, let's go as it is going. Now, what is a profession? Is teaching a profession? That is next question. And before that, we define what is a profession. Profession, many of you must have studied the course Professional Preparation of Teachers, and you know otherwise as well that profession is a career of individuals who, number one, are accepted by the public as possessing specialized body of knowledge. This is very important. Specialized body of knowledge and skills, and that is how do they get it? From education and training at a higher level. If it is not at a higher level, then it is vocational training. So that is the difference between a profession and a vocation. And number two, are prepared to exercise this knowledge and skills in the interest and welfare of others, even at the cost of their own interest. When we look at that, then I think teaching is perhaps at the top, because we say that teacher is selfless, teacher is parambari, teacher is this and that, and they adhere to high ethical standards. This is profession. Now you need to evaluate whether your teaching is a profession or not. Now, ensuring quality in profession. What are general? I'm not talking about teaching, I'm talking about profession. How the quality is ensured. Number one, it is accreditation of institutions and training programs. And number two, it is licensing or registration of individuals at entry level to the profession. After completing higher education, then license or registration is granted. By whom? We will come to that later. And the third is certification of individuals at higher proficiency level. You are permitted to enter, you are allowed to practice, but still you can progress in that profession, and that can also be certified. How is that done? We'll talk next. This is just a holistic picture of how quality assurance in a profession is ensured. In this slide, you see that here is input and here process, and the third is essentially the product. Now, the accreditation of a program takes or encircles all these things: input, because accreditation bodies can say this should be the qualification, and whether the institutions are following it or not. What are the processes starting from curriculum to the end of the educational process? You can read this later on. And then what are the type of graduates as well as when they go to the field? But then another mean of quality assurance is there. You see this certification. It talks about the output, the graduates, and whether they are of quality or not. Because the certification does not go back into how the process is going on or what are the inputs. They talk what the people were doing there and what are they produced. So these are two important things and the way these two are linked. Now, we are talking about licensing, professional licensing. What is it? It is any form of regulations, rules that restrict entry to a profession only to the people who meet the requirements stipulated by a regulatory authority. There must be a regulatory authority. They should outline the requirements against which that graduate is evaluated, or it is permission by the competent body or authority to certify or to allow a qualified profession to practice or perform a job. Here we are talking about teaching. Or it is also membership of relevant professional body. Since I do not see the audience, I cannot even ask through chat, they can tell me that what are what do they know about? Do you know about any professions which are doing all these things? Do you, if you do not know, I would say look at law for a practice. You get education, you apply to the Higher Education Commission, then you apply to the Bar Council, and then you get permission to practice. After 6 months, then you are again evaluated. For medical, you need that. For architectural planning, you need all these three things. So, from medical, from law, and from engineer, the strongest is engineering and medical association in our country. They have all these three things. Why do we need license? कोई जरूरत है? Number one, regulate professions. Standardized professional input into the market. Yeah, which means allow only those people who fulfill the conditions, and also protect public from incompetent or quacks. You know that how many doctors are there who are playing with the lives of people. And to stop that, if a person would get education, would get the license, the threat is reduced. I mean, we can at least ensure that person knows the competency level, of course, would remain different. Enhance quality of services because there is a continuous check on that. I will talk about that, how there is a continuous check. And it provides feedback to the educational institution for gearing their programs to the required type of output. This is very important. In our country, we, the educational institutions, have just shut our ears and eyes to the needs of the profession. If the licensing is there, it will help improve the teaching programs. Establish and get acknowledged as a profession and professional. That is also important. We, after such a long history of teaching, are still in the doldrum whether teaching is a profession or not, because it does not fulfill all the requirements of profession. What licensing brings to the professional? कोई उनको फायदा है? Yes. It is a kind of career insurance. It is respect and better social status. And if licensing introduced and certification introduced, then better emoluments and salary can be expected. It also, if it is a profession, then there should be a collegial model, consultative model among the professionals to improve the profession through promoting positive aspect of their experiences. They can share, they can talk, they can promote ethical standards, because when there are associations, they have some ethical standards. Our associations are not associations. If there are any, they are trade unions. Disseminate information contributing to how to do the job in a better way, and then develop methods of solving disputes between consumers and providers. And with the passage of time, with the knowledge more prevalent about everything, how the legal cases are coming up in the subject of education as well. So those can be resolved, those can be talked if we have certain kinds of rules. As I said earlier, there are benefits of licensing to the educational programs or educational institutions. How? This licensing provides opportunities for linkage between the world of work and the institutions. Where is the world of work of teachers? These are the schools, these are the school education departments or education departments, provincial governments, etc. It gives useful feedback on academic programs. And because if your people are not doing well in the field, then you get the feedback. We do get the feedback, but we are not listening yet. Help revise the programs to the needs of the market and society. Because that should not be only listening. That information should be for doing something. Are we doing it? And then building trust between institutions and the stakeholders. If we are doing our job good, then there will be trust that teacher education institutions are producing people who are good for the field of education or schools. Now, I just want to familiarize the participants with the concept of licensing and certification. Is it same or different? According to the world practices and Pakistani practices as well, not in education but in other subjects, there is one initial or provisional certificate. It can also be called registration. These permit entry or starting practice, and It is generally granted for a limited or specified period. And then second stage is licensing. This is kind of permanent, although there is nothing permanent because it can be withdrawn as well. Permanent or legal permission to practice and in our case to teach. Then the third concept is graded certification. Uh, in the world and in Pakistan, in some professions, there are graded certificates for professional practices. The best example is engineering, because in law we don't have that. But in engineering, there is first professional examination. In Pakistan, there is second professional, third professional certificate. And in teaching, not in Pakistan, but in other countries, there are certificates like accomplished teacher or higher level teacher or with different names. So this red is example from other countries, whereas in black from engineering, I have given the example from Pakistan, what is in the profession. Now, who is the authority to do that? Licensing and registration. Because that is jhagda, that is a controversy in Pakistan. That is misunderstanding in Pakistan. License or entry is generally permitted by government boards in some countries. Now, government boards are parts of educational boards or educational departments. Um, Advanced professional certificate is sponsored by professional bodies, councils, and associations. As I gave example of that, first professional, second professional, third professional in engineering, that is granted by engineering council. Similarly, in education, I will show how other countries are doing it. In Pakistan, all types of professional licensing and subsequent certification of professionals other than teaching is under the professional bodies or councils. See, I mean, there can be different ways. So here, um, engineering council, PMDEC, architectural, because at the moment I think we have 7 councils which have been established by uh, national acts, and there are 5 or 6 councils established by HEC. The status of HEC councils is not the same as those established through acts of the parliament. So, uh, engineer PAC is engineering council, PMDC bar council. I have given the examples. What are they? Because this is the question before us, and we want to know what the word is doing. Requirements for licensing. Now we are coming to teachers. Requirements for licensing of teachers. It needs these 5 things, or maybe one can be eliminated at that, rather, nothing can be eliminated. And the one that is, I mean, personal characteristics, maybe number 4. Um, it can be national or something. But I think very first thing is specified formal schooling in the subject. I have just add to teach, because this is in every field. Engineering, You should have 12 years of schooling and 5 years of engineering education. Um, in medical, the same. In law, now the same, 12 plus 5. So, um, in but that is not recognized as allied health disciplines, and the medical council doesn't issue license to them. So the very first thing is formal schooling in the subject, and here I have put teach specified formal schooling in the pedagogical content. Now, by pedagogical content, what your core subjects are generally methods of teaching, child psychology, assessment, etc., etc. And then there should be some experience, internship, not house job. You can call it practicum. So that is third condition which should be fulfilled. Not only knowledge, pedagogical, theoretical, but you should have experience of doing that. Then personal characteristics, you can limit it to citizenship, residence, and suitability of character, which we say commitment, etc., etc. And very important component is successful completion, rather passing a licensing examination. If the license to be issued, there should be examination. Now, what are the word practices in licensing or certification of teacher? Sadia, I have consumed 30 minutes. Okay, I think we'll complete before that. Word practices in licensing or certification of teachers. Different practices are adopted. State issues certificate to enter the job on the basis of degrees granted by the accredited institutions. See, if the institution is accredited, as we are now doing in Pakistan, Accreditation Council is accrediting the. Now, I should not say essentially institutions. Here, it should be basically programs. If the program is accredited and a person graduates from there, gets a degree, then initial certificate can be granted. In England, it is done after getting from out from the. In Philippines, it is a temporary or provisional license, but they do issue instead of asking people to do that. In law, for example, if you see, they have to pass the examination as well as before taking the, because it is a kind of provisional to go to that. And after that permission, when you register with the HSC and the Bar Council, then you sit in the coming examination, which is conducted twice a year. You take that examination, and after that, you are allowed to practice. Similarly, it is done in case of teachers in many countries. Then, after that, not after that, this is either or as well. State issues license after passing an examination in addition to the degree, such as in USA, most of the states, because a few years back, license was issued on the basis of just a degree, but now you have to pass the examination as well. As in Canada and in Philippines, as I said, that initial or provisional is issued, but then you have to sit in the examination. Professional councils have or issue advanced level certificates, not the basic, on the basis of degree, but most important in that is added experience. And in certain countries, professional councils and state boards work together for licensing. How do they work together? I think these are all the details. For example, in USA, the councils come to the institutions during the preparation time,
Mm,
and they evaluate the students, not the graduates, because at that time they are prospective teachers, and they evaluate whether the processes and the candidates are doing, and they take kind of examinations of the students as well. So there they work together. And in USA, the practices can be different from one state to the other. Now they are coming more towards centralized approach. But in Canada or in USA, in Canada you have provinces, not states. In USA you have states. In Canada, provinces used to be very independent in all these activities. But realizing that people have to go from one place to the other, they are moving toward central. And not only moving, because the international worth, the confidence is enhanced when you have central criteria and central processes. Okay, professional or accomplished certified teachers. As I said that some countries have that. We take the example of USA. For advancement in the professions and better recognition, graded certificates are issued by professional councils or boards, such as there is a National Board of Professional Teaching Standards, NBPTS, and it takes examination for certified or accomplished teacher, which is a symbol of teaching excellence. And it is not issued by state, it is a national level body. And then these teachers, when they go from one state to the other, they don't have to take again the certification of teachers from the state. The requirements, as I talked earlier, may include successful teaching experience, enhancement of academic or professional qualification, and qualifying the subsequent prescribed level exam. वो मुफ्त में नहीं मिलता है, आप उसके लिए मेहनत करते हैं. जैसे आप देखें इन द यूनिवर्सिटी, फ्रॉम assistant professor to associate professor, you don't take exam, but you have to fulfill some of the conditions. But there, you have to take examination for every subsequent certificate level. Now, should we come to Pakistan? Quality assurance of teachers in Pakistan. The first comprehensive statement about, although every policy talks about teacher is linchpin, teacher is this and that, and quality and whatnot. But the procedures or the methodologies required were mentioned in the policy of 2009 for the first time, which states teacher training arrangements, accreditation, and certification procedures will be standardized and institutionalized. Now, each and every word has a meaning. It is a very meaningful and powerful statement. Although accreditation had been introduced before the national education policy, it was established in 2006, and for the first time, I wrote to the Minister Education, Zubaida Jalal, in 2004 that there should be an accreditation council. Anyhow, Then you also need to know about, I mean, why I'm talking these things. You people need to know because you will go in the field, you will talk how it should be done and why it should be done. What is are the grounds available for that? I will not be going to many of the places. Following moved from the concurrent list to the federal legislative list. I know most of the participants in this webinar do not know what is concurrent list. Concurrent list of the constitution is that these are the things where provinces and federal government can take the initiative, and whosoever takes the initiative first is okay. I mean, those things fall under the purview of both the federal and provincial. Education used to be that, but with 18th amendment, some aspects, most of the aspects of education were clarified. Some were placed clearly in the provincial uh, sphere, and some were with the national or federal government. And in that, standards in institutions for higher education and research, scientific and technical institutions, is now with the federal legislation. Provinces cannot do that. Standards in institutions for higher education. Provinces cannot do it. Legal, medical, and other professions. Well, we, the teachers, are still profession or not, but claiming that we are profession. So, teacher, these both higher education and particularly of profession are the federal prerogative. They can make legislation on that. So, teacher is a product of higher education, and teaching is a profession with a smile. Anyhow, so who should be doing that? Decide on that. What progress has been made on quality assurance of teachers in Pakistan? National Accreditation Council was established in 2006, and I know what problems we had to face. I do not remember the number of seminars, the number of consultations done with the provincial bodies for the need importance of National Accreditation Council and for its acceptance. I think I spent half of my life, well, not really that, for convincing, for advocacy that this is National Accreditation Council, and then we started accrediting. By the time I think I left, we had accredited 200 teacher education programs in the country. National professional standards for teachers have been made by Ministry of Education, and if you have not read that document. It is a good document, at least to begin with. These are general standards not for subject teachers. These are not for secondary school teachers, but these are general, and further work is to be done, should be done. Licensing mechanism and talk has started in Pakistan. I think it started in 2013 or so. These are national professional standards. I don't go over that. These are 10 standards starting from knowledge to ethics and all that, environment. And now, progress on teacher licensing. Instead of a national or of a national authority, provinces have established authorities and bodies. For example, Punjab Education Development Authority was established on June 13th, 2017. It has many functions. I have just copied the functions which relate to licensing. It says development of professional standards for the staff. See, I mean, instead of national, we are coming to provinces. Award of license, professional status, and accreditation. अब हमें कुछ नहीं पता उन्हें इसके मानी आते हैं कि नहीं, accreditation बाद में लिख रहे हैं, किसकी accreditation करनी है पता नहीं, but this is what is written there. Prepare roles of licensed teachers, teacher trainers, and education administrators and other staff. उनकी उन्होंने लिस्ट बना के रखनी है. Prescribed mechanism for the award and renewal of a license. यहाँ आप देखें, license, certificate or professional status recognition, which should be similar to what I have said, accomplished teacher or high level certification or like that. And prescribe conditions and procedures for the withdrawal of a license certificate. So these are the functions of that authority which was established on 2017. How much have they gone far? I mean, some work has been done. I don't have time to talk on that. Now, progress on teacher licensing in other provinces. भाई हमने किया नहीं, सबसे पहले तो सिंध शरारत करता है. अच्छा, सिंध ने भी अथॉरिटी एस्टैब्लिश कर ली, सिंध टीचर एजुकेशन डेवलपमेंट स्टेडा. Licensing is one of its functions. Why should KPK remain behind? They have stated it is a teacher education strategy 2013 to 2018 prepared under the USAID project, and it says that it will establish provincial institution for implementing a teacher licensing and certification system by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. DE and ST is Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. But I think they have not yet developed. AJK policy I read in 2013, it was also prepared under USAID, but implementation nowhere has been done, standards not prepared. But my concern by showing this is that we are talking about provinces. अरे भाई कभी तो पाकिस्तान में वेस्ट पाकिस्तान वैसे ही एक यूनिट था. Why don't we take it this standards business at national level? Anyhow, if we want to do licensing, I would again refer to this specified formal schooling in the subject to teach. Very important component, because teacher is two things basic. Number one is content to be taught. Number two, how to teach that. So number two is specified formal schooling in the pedagogical content. Then experience and professional characteristics and successful completion of a licensing examination. So these, I am repeating it, these are the conditions which we must meet. For the initial training, I just want to sensitize you what is meant by this initial training in other countries. OECD, I reviewed each and every country. In Malaysia, that is not OECD, Indonesia, Philippines, USA वगैरह. Initial teacher training, आप लोगों को भी पता है, aims at content plus pedagogical knowledge, ये वो मॉडल है which is called concurrent model. Content, pedagogical knowledge, teaching practice, and ethics. This is the whole to prepare a teacher. And in those countries, the duration after higher secondary school, 12 years. In some countries, there is 11 years schooling as well. The duration of these programs for certain level of teaching is, as I talk, for pre-primary teachers, 3 to 5 years after 12 years of schooling. For primary and lower secondary, it is 3 to 6.5 years. And for secondary and upper secondary, it is 4 to 7 years of teacher education program in the concurrent model. But in the consecutive model, it is less, varying from 1 to 2 years. While the world is doing that, what tamasha are we doing? Number one, we have taken things to the provinces, and this is the second crime which we are doing. Abolishing education degree as a mandatory requirement in Pakistan. आप लोगों को पता होना चाहिए, ऐसे ही आप पढ़ा रहे हैं. The recruitment policy for educators and assistant education officers, AEOs 2017, of School Education Department of the Government of Punjab is this. It abolished the mandatory condition of professional training for appointment of teachers in the public sector schools by allocating only 3 out of 100 marks to any of the teacher education degree, B.Ed, M.Ed, TED, whatever. And it prescribed master or BS, 4-year BS degree in the content as a mandatory requirement for all contract based teaching. क्योंकि इन्होंने की ही सारी contract based teaching थी, उनका नाम जब educator रख दिया जाता है तो it means it is a contract based. Elementary school educator, secondary school educator, blah 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 blah. You can read it. और आपको वैसे भी पता होना चाहिए ये क्या है, अगर तो मुझे पता है कि बहुत से लोगों को इसका नहीं पता होता. दूसरे सूबे जैसे मैंने कहा क्यों पीछे रहे. KPK ने also required master bachelor in content by only 5 marks for professional training, and then said that untrained teachers have to go under after induction 9 months training at right fights, etc. over a period of 3 years. Since school education departments for junior elementary school teachers and primary school teachers requires only graduation, no training. Balochistan is an exception. Till now, I haven't seen any advertisement requiring or abolishing the mandatory requirement. So this is where we stand as a teaching profession and institution. When in 2017, Punjab government adopted this policy, we raised a hue and cry. I was not in chairperson of NACTE, but still with some links, we created some hue and cry. And the chairman of Higher Education Commission, Banori Saab, he called the meeting. I was part of that meeting as well. There, the minutes are available. It was recommended, it was only a recommendation. A pre-service teacher education degree must remain a mandatory requirement for induction of school teachers at all levels. मेरा ख्याल है जो अब लोग हैं at different helm of affairs, उन्हें इन बातों को लेके चलना चाहिए, लेकिन वो कुछ थोड़े थोड़े चुप चुप बैठे रहते हैं. और फिर ये भी कहा उसमें कि रजिस्ट्रेशन सर्टिफिकेशन एंड लाइसेंसिंग must be introduced at the national level. Close liaison should be developed and strengthened between the national policymakers and the university authorities for agreed upon decision making. Contrary to that, what teacher training model have the provinces come up? अभी मैंने आपको बताया. It is after induction training model. What is it? In other countries, somewhere in the world ऐसा करते हैं. मसलन एक जॉर्जिया इंडक्शन ट्रेनिंग मॉडल भी है, रिसेंटली बनाया उन्होंने, लेकिन इट इज अडॉप्टेड टू मीट द शॉर्टेज ऑफ टीचर्स इन स्पेसिफिक एरियाज. जैसे हमारे मुल्क में साइंस और मैथ में प्रॉब्लम है. इट इज डिजाइंड वेरी केयरफुली to include all the requirements of the relevant degree in education. हम कह रहे हैं वो मैंडेटरी नहीं है, वो चाहिए ही नहीं. Is offered in collaboration or jointly. अगर ऐसा वो करते हैं तो how is it done? अब टीचर एजुकेशन पर मेरे सामने तो टीचर एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशन तो बैठा हुआ कौन है? मैं तकरीर बिला वजह कर रही हूँ. एक इंस्टीट्यूशन के मॉडरेट लेवल के वो हैं लोग. इट इज डिजाइंड वेरी केयरफुली कोलैबोरेशन विद यूनिवर्सिटी फैकल्टीज. यानी ऐसा नहीं है कि वो खुद बैठकर 3 महीने की ट्रेनिंग जो है वो कराने बैठ जाते हैं. वो यूनिवर्सिटी फैकल्टीज ऑफ एजुकेशन जो हैं उनके साथ मिलकर उस ट्रेनिंग को करते हैं और वहां के लोग आकर उसको ट्रेनिंग करवाते हैं. Have to meet all the requirements of specified degree. उन प्रोग्रामों को खोलकर तो देखें ना पाकिस्तान के लोग. Only those who qualify go for state certification or licensing. पाकिस्तान तो दाल दलिया पकाने के चक्करों में ही पड़ा रहता है. What is Pakistani brand after induction teacher training model? ये है उसकी शक्ल. To be delivered by the non-university bodies such as DSD, जिसको आप कायद कहते हैं, बिगड़ा हुआ कायद, rights and pites, will have and it will have no academic worth, क्योंकि ये डिग्री तो है नहीं. Will put at stake the future of teachers, not providing upgradation path of their professional qualification. वो उसके बाद एमफिल टेमफिल में दाखिला नहीं ले सकते हैं. Is too compressed and segmented in 3 small units spread over 3 summers, not allowing assimilation and understanding. Lacks in content knowledge of the discipline of education. कभी उनसे बात तो करके देखें KPK से. Lacks the expertise of the discipline. आप समझते हैं कि आप एक्सपर्ट है तो आपको तो कोई नहीं पूछता. So what should be done? हम तो बातें कर सकते हैं. Adopt the international parameters for licensing of teachers. इसके अलावा कोई हल नहीं है अगर आप दुनिया में रहना. With the teacher education degree as one of the mandatory requirement, and I have repeated all 5 elements. और क्या करना चाहिए? What else? Adopt after, मैं ये नहीं कहती कि after induction model बिल्कुल नहीं होना चाहिए. After induction model may be adopted wherever there is shortage, but for quality and safeguarding the future of individual teachers, the after induction training model must be equivalent to the pre-service consecutive model. Be offered by or with the cooperation of faculties of universities or the affiliated institutions in collaboration with the provincial स्कूल एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट्स. क्योंकि अब सबने ही अपना नाम स्कूल एजुकेशन रख लिया हुआ है. अगला सवाल पैदा होता है, who should be the authority for licensing? मैं हमेशा से इस हक में हूं कि it should be a central or national body as per 18th amendment. अभी आपको मैंने उसके सारे वो बताए. Practices of all other professional bodies and councils in Pakistan. पाकिस्तान में भी सारी जो है वो नेशनल है, कोई भी प्रोविंशियल नहीं है. Allow at least, it will allow at least inter-provinces mobility of teachers. And international, we should know that international trend is moving from states or provinces to national. तो हम क्यों वही चरखा वहां से चलाना चाह रहे हैं जिसको व्हील जो के नया बनाना पड़े. Many developing countries already have national systems such as Philippines, very strong, Philippines, Thailand. This national body may have participant members from the provinces. अगर ऐसा नहीं करना तो फिर ऐसे कर लें. दूसरा मॉडल भी हम दे देते हैं, वो ये है कि there should be a central or national body to frame the licensing and certification standards as per international practices. लेकिन since the employer is province, so provincial school education department, therefore provincial education departments may undertake the whole process of licensing. Or NACTE, being a council, should be authorized to develop standards and mechanism for certification of accomplished teacher, high level teacher, इन्होंने कहा ट्रेनर्स, मास्टर ट्रेनर, जो भी उनके नाम आप करना चाहते हैं, डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ पर्संस, उसके लिए स्टैंडर्ड्स का काम इनको दे दें. उसकी इम्प्लीमेंटेशन, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन भले ही सूबे करते रहें. तो दूसरा सवाल ये है, ये मैं अदारों से कहती हूँ कि तुम भी अपनी आंखें खोलो. Just think about why the provinces have done away with the mandatory degree. There is our fault. We have not updated our curricula. We have not updated our training programs. तो हमें, and we are doing things in isolation. हम तो नेक्टी की बात भी नहीं सुनते और नेक्टी अभी उतना काम भी नहीं कर रही. हम नेक्टी की बात नहीं सुनते, क्या मिन्नतें करते फिरते हैं. वो कह रही करा लो एक्रेडिटेशन, वो कहते हैं नहीं जी पांडे ऐसी नहीं कली कराने हाले. तो वो ये है कि, और कसूर ये है टीचर ट्रेनिंग इंस्टीट्यूशंस का कि वो आइसोलेशन में काम कर रहे हैं. उन्हें नहीं पता व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इन द वर्ल्ड. वर्ल्ड का मतलब है किस किस्म का टीचर चाहिए, हमारा टीचर कर रहा है वो क्या नहीं कर रहा है. तो पहली बात ये करो कि डेवलप ए लाइजन विद ऑल द स्टेक होल्डर्स. और वो कौन है? प्रोविंशियल डिपार्टमेंट्स ऑफ एजुकेशन. प्राइवेट स्कूल आपका स्टूडेंट नहीं जाता है ग्रेजुएट प्राइवेट स्कूलों में, आप उनके साथ और एसोसिएशंस के साथ राब्ता करें. एंड विद एक्रेडिटेशन एंड लाइसेंसिंग बॉडीज जो भी अभी फिलहाल बनी हैं, और उसकी रोशनी में एनालाइज द प्रोग्राम्स कंपेयरिंग टू द नीड्स ऑफ एम्प्लॉयर्स एंड द नीड्स ऑफ ए 21st century टीचर. भरा पड़ा है मटेरियल आजकल, तो आपके मुट्ठी में है सारा कुछ, क्यों नहीं हमें पता चल रहा. लेकिन अभी तक आई नो द टीचर एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट्स कहाँ मतलब वो कर रहे हैं. एंड रीस्ट्रक्चर द टीचर एजुकेशन प्रोग्राम्स एंड द कोर्सेज अकॉर्डिंगली. और दूसरा ये है कि विद कोऑर्डिनेशन, इन कोऑर्डिनेशन विद स्कूल एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट्स, ब्यूरोज ऑफ करिकुलम, DST, link pre-service teacher training programs with the in-service teacher education programs. और प्रोफेशनल डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम वो उनको कहते हैं, उसके साथ इसको लिंक करें, तब जाकर आप लोगों की भी इस प्रोफेशन को स्ट्रेंथन करने में आपकी कंट्रीब्यूशन होगी, वरना यू विल बी लेफ्ट आउट। क्योंकि अपना स्टेटस करने के लिए जब तक रात दिन मरते नहीं, मेहनत नहीं करते, मुशक्कत नहीं करते, किसी आइडियल को अटेन करने की वी डोंट मेक एन एफर्ट टू अचीव द बेस्ट, देन in this competitive world, existence is very difficult. So with these words, I hope that this talk of today, whatever the number of participants, may reach to some others as well. Thank you, Sadia, very much, and thank you, the participants.
Thank you so much, madam. I like your concluding remarks, and that has the crux of your whole presentation. That's really wonderful. We have some faculty members from other universities as well. Dr. Shaista Khalid from Sargodha University. She is working as assistant professor in education. Shaista, I want to give you opportunity first. Do you have any question from Professor Mirza? Dr. Shaista, are you there? Okay, she might be away. Okay, dear participants, it's the time for the question answer session. If you have your question, you can ask your question directly from the speaker, or you can write your question in the chat box. Dr. Khalid, do you have any question? Okay, so it's just a compliment from...
Yeah. It was a very wonderful presentation.
Yes,
and Professor Dr. Madam Munawar Mirza has rightly pointed out that there should be a different forum for this presentation.
Yes.
बहुत ही thought provoking और बहुत ही जबरदस्त ये एक presentation थी. But anyhow, whoever is there, it is good. And especially, I have learned a lot from this presentation.
Yes, me too. Yes, that's a wonderful.
Thank you, Dr. Saab, because you are in this field now, accreditation. So you understand. Yesterday, I talked to Dr. Sadia on the subject that who will be the participants. Then I thought, okay, whosoever it is, maybe the younger few people take the ideas. But I think such talk should reach out to other people as well. That was my concern yesterday, talking to Dr. Sadia. Anyhow, since she asked me, and when I once accepted, then it is my commitment, so which I never abandoned.
I'm really
so I did that. So thank you, Dr. Sadia, whosoever was there.
I have one or two questions, madam. If we are really interested to launch the teacher licensing movement in the context of Pakistan, so what we have to do and what sort of challenges we can face?
Well, I don't think I have anything new to say. If you go through my presentation and my talk earlier, it is not a question of if or not. The question is there. The movement is there. Although it has been slowed down for various reasons. I need not go into that. But once the movement is there, it will continue at different pace during different periods. So I think the teacher education institutions should take this opportunity of this slow process, and they should come up with ideas. And also it is for the National Accreditation Council and the Higher Education Commission to take up these issues and to form different bodies. who wants to do that, I do not know. And as I said, the teacher education institutions, if they want to see the worth of their degrees, they should work on their programs. They should compare their programs to what the other countries, the world is doing. There is so much available that we can learn, we can modify. Uh, the biggest difference in our product and the product of other countries is that we impart theoretical knowledge and practical knowledge. Supervised practices are very few in our teacher education programs. Anyhow, I mean, this is such a complex thing that everyone should and can take initiative. I don't know who will be willing to. If I was at some place, I would have done. क्योंकि मैं तो कभी ये नहीं सोचा करती कि मैं जाके ये बात, फॉर एग्जाम्पल जब ये अभी आपको मैंने बताया है, जब 2017 की पॉलिसी आई तो भाई मुझे क्या पड़ा था, बट आई डिड टॉक टू दी NACTE, I did talk to the Higher Education Commission, and then we had a meeting under the chairmanship of chairman of Higher Education Commission. That should be continued. I mean, and that should tell us what. I mean, we recommended that it should be national bodies. We should try to come up with the idea. We should develop at least. I mean, if we want to do something, all right, start developing standards. Take it somewhere. These are the standards we have developed. Look at this. And this is the work. I mean, if we present something, then maybe we can make the difference. Anyhow, Sadia, this is a very complex situation. It needs initiative. It needs commitment.
Yes.
It needs hard work.
Yes.
All that. And then perhaps something can be done.
When we talk about
it is just to share that 2-3 months back, Sindh government advertised for teaching positions, and teacher education degree was not mandatory. Chairperson NACTE wrote to secretaries, all the secretaries, and he personally met to Secretary Education Sindh. And Secretary Education Sindh told him that we are considering teacher education by awarding 3 marks. For professional degree.
वो तो है, मैं कह रही हूँ कि पंजाब गवर्नमेंट ने भी 3 नंबर रखे हैं और सिंध गवर्नमेंट ने 5 नंबर रखे हैं आउट ऑफ एज ए मैटर ऑफ फैक्ट 200, क्योंकि उनके हैं 100 नंबर हैं उसके जो एंट्री जो उन्होंने एग्जामिनेशन रखा है, और 100 नंबर हैं बाकी क्वालिफिकेशंस के, जिसमें 20 एक चीज के हैं, कंटेंट के हैं, 20 इसके हैं, पता नहीं किसके हैं, आपके के हैं, और ये वो। तो वही बात हुई ना कि 3% के करीब नंबर दे दिए हैं, तो 3% नंबर देना, तो मैं 3% तो ले जाऊं अगर किसी और चीज में, तो आप क्या कर लेंगे? इन 3 नंबरों से क्या क्या हासिल क्या होगा? मतलब टू बी ए मैंडेटरी एंड 3% ऑफ द टोटल, for 3% I will not go for training. In any case, I will improve my academic qualification. मैं first class scholarship लेकर मैं तो चली जाऊंगी, मुझे क्या जरूरत है 2 साल और करने की? तो बात यह है कि these 3 marks is nothing. तो मैं तो इसको आपके ख्याल में, आपके अदारों में लोग इस 3% नंबर लेने के लिए आएंगे? Forget it. कोई भी नहीं आएगा।
मैडम मैंने देखा जो हमारे ग्रेजुएट्स थे वो एकेडमिक्स में और जो उनका एग्जाम था उसमें इतने पीछे थे कि 3 नंबरों लेकर कोई भी नहीं आया। जो जनरल डिग्री वाले थे वो आ गए, उनका मेरिट अच्छा था।
ही होना, ये मैंने आपको क्या कहा कि अगर ये प्रैक्टिस रहेगी तो मैं अपने 4 ईयर प्रोग्राम में एफर्ट पूरी कर लूंगी और मैं फर्स्ट डिवीजन ले लूंगी, और उसके बाद मुझे इन 3 नंबरों की जरूरत है ही नहीं। 3 नंबरों के लिए कोई 2 साल अपनी जिंदगी के 1.5 साल बर्बाद करना नहीं आएगा।
सही बात।
तो बात यह है कि अगर आप अच्छे प्रोग्राम करें, आपके कोई कंडीशन हो तो लोग आएंगे ना, ऐसे तो नहीं आएंगे ना। और मुझे लोगों के आने से, अदारे भरने से कतन गरज नहीं है। माई फिलोसफी इज डिफरेंट। माई फिलोसफी इज कंपैशनेटली टू प्रिपेयर गुड टीचर्स। जो मैं ये कह रही हूँ कि आफ्टर इंडक्शन मॉडल नहीं कर सकता, अगर टीचर ट्रेनिंग इंस्टीट्यूशंस ईमानदारी से टीचर तैयार करें तो ये आफ्टर इंडक्शन ट्रेनिंग मॉडल उसका मुकाबला नहीं कर सकता। लेकिन झांके ना हम अपने अंदर भी। बात यह है कि जब तक हम रिफ्लेक्शन, इंटरनल इनवर्ड रिफ्लेक्शन नहीं होता, नथिंग कैन बी डन।
लेकिन मैडम क्या करें कि फर्स्ट डिवीजन वाले एफएससी वाले बच्चे हमारे पास हैं बीएस में, हमारे पास तो सेकंड डिवीजन वाले आते हैं जिनका कोई किसी तरफ जिनको दाखिला नहीं मिलता। तो अच्छे नंबर वाले
वहां भी नहीं जाते, वहां वो ठहरेंगे नहीं। ये उनको पता होना चाहिए कि आफ्टर इंडक्शन मॉडल आपको रिटेन करने में कितने प्रॉब्लम्स करेगा। ठीक है, टीचर्स को रिटेन करना मतलब वो कंपेयर करें रिटेंशन रेट फिर उसके बाद में। लेकिन हमने तो ऐसा कुछ करके बताना नहीं ना, आप लोग करें टीचर एजुकेशन। लेकिन सबसे पहले देखिए, आप उसको कंपेयर करें, उसको करें, वो बाद में करें। पहले अपने आप को तो ठीक करें, पहले अपने आप को उस चीज से तो निकालें जो लोग कहते हैं और कह रहे हैं कि ट्रेनिंग से कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता। आप वो फर्क पढ़ने का एविडेंस तो क्रिएट कर रहे हैं ना। आप कहें कि ये दो लोग हैं विद इक्वल लेवल ऑफ एकेडमिक जो है कंटेंट, इसके एफएससी में या 4 ईयर प्रोग्राम जो है बीएस, उसमें इसके जीपीए 3.4 है, और ये एक स्टूडेंट है जिसकी बीएस में जीपीए 3.4 है। अब इस 3.4 वाले को जब तक आप नहीं कंपेयर करेंगे तब तक आप बता रहे। लेकिन अभी तक हम ऐसी स्टडीज करने की तरफ भी नहीं आ रहे। हम ये कहते हैं ये ट्रेंड है, ये अनट्रेंड है। अरे भाई ऐसे नहीं है। ये पहले उनकी बाकी जो क्वालिफिकेशंस हैं वो बराबर होने, और नहीं तो कम से कम कोवेरियंस के एनालिसिस ही कर लें उन पैरामीटर्स पर। लेकिन बात यह कि मैं क्यों करूं, तनख्वाह मुझे मिल रही है बस, और ये तनख्वाह देखो कब तक मिलती है। एनीहाउ, मुझे बहुत स्ट्रांग बातें नहीं करनी चाहिए क्योंकि मैं स्ट्रांग बातें जरूर करूं अगर मेरे सामने फैकल्टी बैठी हुई हो।
सही।
ये तो
बच्चे हैं, इनको क्या बताना है।
हाँ, ये तो स्टूडेंट्स हैं, इनको तो अभी इन सारी चीजों की जो एब्रिविएशंस हैं उसमें उनके पूरे नाम ही नहीं पता है, तो क्या करें।
मैडम, मेरा क्वेश्चन आपसे ये है कि हम लाइसेंसिंग एग्जामिनेशन की तरफ, हम लाइसेंसिंग टेस्टिंग की तरफ अगर आए, हमें क्या ऐसे कंपोनेंट्स हैं जिसके ऊपर बेस करता हुआ स्टूडेंट्स के लिए, प्री सर्विस टीचर्स के लिए कोई टेस्ट बनाने की जरूरत है?
लो, कमाल हो गई। यानी ये इस पे अभी तो इसी टॉक पे हमें 1.5 घंटा, सवा घंटा लग गया। अगर मैं ये कहूँ व्हाट शुड बी डन फॉर लाइसेंसिंग, तो हमें बहुत काम करने की जरूरत है। एंड हु शुड आई टॉक टू, विल टॉक लेटर। ठीक है, जाहिर है इसके लिए आपको देखना है कि आपको टीचर्स के
मतलब बात है जो कि लोग इनिशिएट करते हैं, लेकिन फिर जब उसके पास उनको उसके आगे जाने के रास्ते नहीं आते और फिर वो मूवमेंट खत्म हो जाती है। तो आपकी बात बिल्कुल ठीक है कि हमें इस
Dr. Your, I think, concern is related to the teachers in higher education. Because you said that teachers come with content preparation and they go directly to the teaching. They are taught and they are certainly as experts of their content, and we assume that they can teach. Perhaps that is your concern. Am I right in understanding you? Because when I was talking, my presentation was mostly focused on uh,
implement this concept in the context of Pakistan. Thank you for sharing your valuable ways and thinking about the launching of teacher licensing movement. And thank you once again. I'm looking forward to meeting you on another forum and on the same debate someday.
Okay,
Thank
okay.
you.
Thank you, Dr. Sadia. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, wish you best, all of you. Wish you the best.
Thank
Okay,
you. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Dear participants,
Thank you.
please stay connected. We have another session, the next session by Dr. Khalid Mahmood. And we have a separate link for the next meeting. So I request you to please join that particular link that addressing the role of NACTE for teacher education accreditation. And I see you there. Thank you. Bye-bye.